Hello, humans. Welcome to a new Psicoactivo. It's a new week. This is going to be an interesting one based on what I've been hearing that is going to probably happen. August is going to be a big month. We already know that Lue Elizondo's book is coming out. I did see Mr. Shannon Scott, he's a veteran who is part of Lue Elizondo's team, who mentioned that this week the first Lue Elizondo interview was going to happen, and it was going to be him speaking to Lue Elizondo about his book. We'll see how that goes. I hope it goes well. There's a lot of stuff going around from the Lue Elizondo book leaks that all of his naysayers are trying to use in order to attack him. All I can say about this is that out of the multiple interviews that I've seen of Lue, many of the statements he's given over the years just makes me think that the guy is a regular guy who used to be in the intelligence community and who, based on the way that he responds to questions and the advice he gave, that always resonated with me. I do believe that he is truthful in what he's doing. I do not get, and I honestly, I don't understand the level of hate that he's been getting just because he was in the intelligence community. Granted, I would tread carefully with intelligence community people, especially the ones who were in the CIA or are in the CIA. And yes, if he was involved in many missions that probably made him not have a good look in the front of people's eyes, that's how it goes when you're part of the intelligence community. You're following orders, and maybe some of those orders you didn't want to follow, but you had to, because otherwise you would be put in jail for treason. So I guess that's why people are attacking Lue, because he decided to follow orders and not be put in jail, not jeopardize his career, not jeopardize his family. That's why he's being attacked, because of that. I'm not going to go into details because I already told you guys I made it my mission to not read those leaks. I have heard a few things, but I don't want to read them because when I put out a book, I don't want people to read it before I want it out. That is profoundly disrespectful. So I just want to keep being true to what I believe. I respect anyone who has read the book and the leaks. I am not going to comment on any of that. Everyone can do what they want, and it's okay by me. I really don't care. Just doing what I would wish that was done to me. I am just treating this as I wish that people treated my book. So that's it. Okay, so basically, that's one thing, right? The other thing is, I was just interviewed by Stephen Diener from the Unidentified Alien podcast. And I want to thank everybody who's been listening to the interview. I hear that it has decent numbers, but most importantly, that's one of the very first steps towards making Psicoactivo grow a little more. So I want to thank Steven for giving me the opportunity to be on his podcast. He only asked me about the mummies because that's the topic that he wanted to talk about. But I believe that we are going to speak again in the future, and we can talk about the other stuff that I am interested in, which is consciousness and human potential and all that stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit more about both my experiences and human potential, precisely, because this is what I've been thinking about for over a year now. That people who have gone through experiences, anomalous experiences, not necessarily seeing UFOs or being abducted, or that also is included in experiences, obviously, but people who have been experiencing stuff since they were little, anomalous experiences since they were little. When I saw what Dr. Gary Nolan discovered inside the brain, on the caudate putamen and the basal ganglia, that little piece of tissue that he discovered, he was the one who said that this little piece of tissue might be related to heightened intuition, better intuition in humans. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Only experiencers have this tissue. When I started studying Dr. Jacobo Greenberg's work and what he talks about, the potential that we have as humans, I couldn't help but notice and think about the possibility that we may be, us humans, we may be going through an evolutionary aspect of the human race. Evolution takes sometimes thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of years to kick in, but it is also gradual. So, some of these characteristics that humans have, such as like the shamanistic traditions, for example, or mystics throughout history, they have other types of skills and abilities where they can heal, they can, according to legend, they can morph into different animals, they can read minds, they can move stuff with their minds without touching them. All of this has been documented. And I find it really interesting that intelligence community agencies have been hell bent on trying to suppress information like this for decades, when at the same time they are the ones who have been spending millions and millions of dollars in programs that weaponize these abilities. I'm talking about SRI, I'm talking about the CIA, I'm talking about the Stargate program. That's what I'm talking about. Why is there not even stigma? Because this is different from the UFO topic, or this is different from psychedelics, which are gravely, and grossly stigmatized and demonized. Human psi abilities have just been suppressed. They've been considered completely unreal, and it just doesn't exist. Mainstream media, mainstream academia, mainstream scientific community, they've all been singing the same tune for a long time. They call it what's the name? Pseudoscience, which is hilarious to me because, yeah, there's a lot of the scientific community that doesn't know how to explain these skills. I get it. And when science and the scientific method cannot be duplicated or repeated by multiple different factions, they don't accept it. I understand that the scientific method has that limitation, but I also understand that the scientific community has all of these doctrines or dogmatic approaches to a lot of topics, especially the most fringe ones, especially the ones that already have an established system in place. Main archaeology has a system in place. Anything that comes around that is contrary or opposite to what the main archaeological luminaries have said throughout history, that is law, that is suppressed, that is ridiculed, that is, a lot of the mainstream media goes against it multiple times. Even YouTube demonetizes, even bans videos for good, just because they're not part of the mainstream. And they're not part of that narrative that all of these companies want to talk about. And before you guys go and tell me, oh, this is conspiracy theory, or YouTube doesn't do that, they don't suppress anything. Guys, in case you guys don't remember, we have the Twitter files that were thoroughly reported on that proved that people from the FBI and the CIA infiltrated on Twitter, trying to suppress a lot of information, both are about politics and many more topics. They banned accounts. They suppressed. Not that is not happening today as well, because suppression and censorship keeps happening right now on X. It only changed the things that are suppressed. Right now, yeah, X accepts a lot of the conspiracy theories, and they are suppressing people who are going against the narrative that Musk likes and the one that he pushes. So I'm not talking here to defend Elon Musk buying Twitter. I get why a lot of people don't like it that he did, and I get why a lot of people left the platform because of that. What I'm saying is that when I talk about, for example, the interdimensional hypothesis, for example, just one example, every single time that I upload a video about that, there's always a Wikipedia explanation that the interdimensional hypothesis is pseudoscience and that is not real. And, Wikipedia. I mean, at this point, anybody who thinks Wikipedia is a reliable source of information needs to get checked out. Because Wikipedia, if you guys don't know or don't remember, can be edited by you. So anytime that you see something on Wikipedia, think about that. Wikipedia can be edited by people, by regular people. So that means that if you want to just change the nature of something that is already in there, you can just go in and change it, just edit it. If you want to invent a new page of a concept or something that doesn't exist, you can do that too. So it's not a reliable source. So this topic about human potential and what I think is happening is the next stage in human evolution is directly linked to experiencers. It's directly linked to abductees. I know that there is a large effort of PhDs who are very respectable people who are trying to understand what this means and are trying to understand the reaches of human potential. I already told you guys, people like Dr. Jeffrey Kripal are talking about this constantly. Dr. Alex Gomez Marin, who's a friend of the show, who was on the show, is talking about this also constantly and is trying to investigate how far can the human mind go within the confines of this reality, right? Because as a physicist, Dr. Gomez Marin, he obviously wants to stay grounded and try to apply the scientific method on everything he studies, and that is completely acceptable. But he also understands that today's science and today's scientific method cannot explain some of the things that he's trying to investigate. That is also true. So here's my proposal. I believe that trying to understand the UFO phenomenon from the nuts and bolts and the technology perspective has been a dead end for decades. I know that there's a lot of people who's very invested on this. I know multiple podcasters and journalists who are trying to do this more seriously, more professionally. Brazilian UFO researcher Ronnie Vernet, he's got cameras on a wide area of the Amazon, not all over. These cameras are multi-sensor cameras that have caught already a few incidents that are very interesting. Another UFO researcher who's French, Baptiste, I don't remember his last name, he's also doing this with a very sophisticated vehicle that has all the equipment to capture UAP. But I hope they get some really good data. I still think that there is no UFO video that is a smoking gun per se. There are some compelling ones, I'm not gonna lie. I know that the one from Antioquia, Colombia, from last year, is a very compelling video. There are debunkers that have already said that it's a balloon. There's another one that's been coming up over the last few weeks from Curitiba, Brazil, that is very similar to that one in Antioquia. But this one is just steady and just moving like this. None of those is a smoking gun, guys. And based on what I've seen on AI development, I think that it's going to be increasingly more difficult for us to get a video that is both considered a smoking gun and not considered fake by debunkers. Here's my proposal. I wrote a tweet that goes like this. When the world realizes that studying experiencers, abductees, and ancient civilizations is far more important than studying the UFO phenomenon itself, ufology as we know it will change forever. What I mean by this is that we need to focus on the effects that experiences and abductees have when they have these experiences. I know that basically all of the people who have experiences or that believe they were abducted, they have skills. They developed skills. They developed a higher sense of like a sixth sense in a way. They say that they communicate telepathically with the entities that they talk to. Some of them even channel these entities through so they can speak to other humans. We have heard Dr. Michael Masters talk about his experience and about Eric, who is actually Eric Mitchell, who is an experiencer who talks a lot about this stuff and who has demonstrated that his brain is capable of creating different type of frequency that you can even pick it up with microphones, which is pretty wild if you ask me. Making sounds just with your mind. So that's one aspect that I think that needs to be studied a lot more in the open, because I'm sure that these agencies have studied it ad nauseum already and they already know what's happening. That's why they've spent so much money on remote viewing programs and other stuff, other programs. So I think that this needs to be paid attention a lot more to, because if we get to understand the skills we have, I think that the UFO phenomenon won't really matter that much if we get to understand what we're going through. Because I think and I believe that these entities, especially the ones that seem to be malevolent, don't want us to know what we're capable of. They have been controlling us through fear for decades. These wars, these conflicts, I don't believe that they are a coincidence or that they are not manufactured to a certain extent, because it really baffles me how much division there can be just for an ideology. I don't get why the wide majority of people can't see that many of the teachings in these old scriptures were actually created by humans after the fact, after all of this these myths and stories from their scriptures happened. The people that wrote these stories were writing them centuries after all of this happened. So you can understand why I think that these scriptures were written to the benefit of the people in power at the time, meaning the Vatican, meaning when the three religions were created, essentially Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. They all wanted to tell their own side of the story, of the big story. And I don't think any of them were correct. If you ask me, I do believe that Jesus existed. I believe that what he proposed in his teachings was the development of human potential. And I think that that's what they wanted to suppress. I think that all he wanted was for people to realize that they were capable of doing everything he did. And I believe that to be true. But all of these religions took his name and did whatever they wanted with him. And some of them placed him in a high position that I don't think he deserved to be honest with you. I think he's one of the greatest philosophers in human history and one of the most important figures in human history. I think he was a good person. I think he was very knowledgeable. He was one of the initiates, but I don't think he was a god. I just think that he wholeheartedly believed that we were capable of all that he did, and that's what he was trying to convey. That's what he was trying to make us understand. And to this day, we still haven't, because of all of these different aspects and the connotations that were added later to his story. But I think that we're finally, in this day and age, able to make our own minds on what happened. So we need to study the real history a little bit more. That could be the Book of Enoch. That could be other scriptures that are more honest about what happened. But more importantly, I think that if there was a philosophy or a religion that could be associated with what Jesus Christ was trying to teach us, I would say that is meditation and what the yogis did during their time. There are still many yogis around the world, and I think that that is the closest thing that we have in terms of how to communicate with entities and how to understand the phenomenon in terms of religion or a kind of religion. So meditation and yoga and a lot of different aspects too, like exercise, loving, living, laughing, connecting with other living beings around us. All of that helps in order to awaken that potential that we have. But more importantly, belief that this is real. That is what is keeping us from understanding our skills. Belief. And that is what has been attacked for generations. This belief that we can do so many things that we don't imagine, that we consider magic. And I think that is the next stage of human evolution. And I think that that is the reason that it has been suppressed for so long, because the day that we all, or the majority of us, realize what we're capable of, the status quo and the whole system is going to fall apart. And that's why it's been suppressed for so long. So I invite you to please look within yourselves. You don't have to go look to a religion or a text, an old text, to realize what you can do. Look within yourself. Meditate. Ask questions. Speak to the ether. You may get an answer. I know I've gotten a lot of answers. So yeah, that's one tweet. And I also just uploaded my very first orb sighting. And I noticed that a lot of people thought that I was recording a reflection of the camera, which is not. In the video, you can clearly see there's a dot right in the middle that is above a large mountain. You can see the little outline there. That's what I was recording. And this was a massive orb that I could see with my own eyes, but the camera didn't catch it as I was seeing it with my eyes. I did my best. This is one of the reasons that I kept it for so long, because this was right when the blue moon took place on August 31st, 2023. And there was this orb and there was another orb that I recorded that were just there, and they were just changing colors like really wildly, like, and I was mesmerized by it. I didn't know what it was. To this day, it's a UFO to me, you know. Since then, I've gotten urges to just go out and look for orbs, and I've resisted to this because there's been an uptick on UFO sightings all over the world. People who summon them, I don't like that word that much. I think that they call on them, and they have the ability to talk to them. So there's one example of this from the Consciousness Connection documentary that I'm gonna play right now. As you can see, this guy managed to record what happened, and all that he talks about with this orb. That's another example of the capabilities we have. I'm gonna leave the video of the orb that I recorded right here.
Ahí está, lo agarré. ¿Qué chingados es eso? Está brillando en un chingo de colores y está arriba del cerro, no está en el cerro. Y está fijo, what the fuck? Nomás para que sepan, esa bola de luz es 31 de agosto, jueves, día de la luna azul. Y esta bola de luz que cambia un chingo de colores está justo arriba del Cerro Colorado. Tengo pésima cámara, pero ahí está. Oh, es un chingo de colores, no mames, qué pedo.
Excuse the foul language, please. It was in Spanish, but I was really mesmerized by what was happening, so that's why I cursed. So I'm sorry. So yeah, please pay more attention to experiencers. I am gonna start talking a lot more about experiencers. I am gonna talk to some of them. I know I already spoke to Pulse Portal, whose account was actually banned on Twitter. He has another one. I think it's Spidey UFOs or something like that. Shout out to Paul. But I want you guys to let me know. Have you had any weird, anomalous experiences? I also posted one of Gwen on my Twitter account, which was really cool. She even made a model of a craft that she saw. I'm going to leave it in the description so you guys can see it. She had the courage to share this experience with me, and I asked for permission so I could tell the story, and I did. And I want you guys to let me know what experiences have you had with the phenomenon, either orbs or other stuff. I'm going to keep talking about my experiences in subsequent videos, but for now, this is what I'm leave you guys with. Please respect experiencers. Many of them are going through really harsh psychological issues, so we need to be more empathetic towards them. Do not dismiss their stories when you hear them. Listen to them. See their reaction on their body language so you can tell, because most experiencers are going through trauma, and you guys need to be more empathetic towards that. Please leave a comment, like, share, comment, subscribe if you like this content. I want to thank you guys for all the nice comments you leave all the time. We are getting closer to 3,500 subscribers. I would like to get close to 4,000. So if you guys can help me, hit that subscribe button. And please, if you like the content and you want to support the channel in any other way, any type of help would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to leave some links in the description where you can donate, or I left an Amazon wish list where you can get something from there so you can help the channel keep growing. So without further ado, I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next video. Bye.